Today, I'm joined by Hady, a business development leader with deep professional insights and a profoundly personal story. Hady is the father of an autistic child and has navigated the joys and challenges of parenting in a world that doesn't always make space for difference. As part of his journey, his ex-wife created a beautiful comic book inspired by their child's experience. It's a powerful example of how storytelling can give voice to those often overlooked and create empathy where there can be misunderstanding. In this episode, Hady shares with us the realities of raising a neurodivergent child, how it's shaped his approach to leadership and inclusion in the workplace, and what needs to change, both culturally and structurally. It's so urgently needed. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
Would you mind sharing with me your personal journey being a parent to a neurodivergent child and what that looked like over the years?
Yeah, it's as with all parents, unexpected journey and unexpected learnings. So I have a son. He's now 13 years old. He is nonverbal autistic, and we basically diagnosed him when he was 1 year, 8 months, around that time. And since then, we've been on a journey in different, let's say, stages in his life, helping him navigate early life and now teenage years. And when we talked before, I mentioned that for me, my son was not just something or a person that I adore, but he was the biggest teacher in my life, because once I started learning and understanding the different perspectives and how people's brain uh, are different and think differently and see things in a different perspective, it helped me a lot as a leader. It helped me a lot as a member of society.
Wow, wow. It's so incredible. We think we know so much and then our children come into the world and it teaches us that we really knew nothing at all. And that's been a reoccurring theme when I talk to parents, is that they've learned so much since they've had their child. Um, Incredible. Thank you. What were the most meaningful or surprising moments in the early days of understanding your child's different needs?
Uh, Meaningful. I think it is. Uh, Let me tell you a story, and that's a. Whenever I'm sitting with my teams, there's a common saying that people say there are no stupid questions, and I always go back and say, well, I can ask 100 stupid questions in my life, in every day, and I always refer to what I say is the most stupid question I've asked in my life. And I remember my son was around 2 years old, and we were visiting the hospital for a different thing, and the doctor looked at him and he noticed the eye contact and the usual autistic traits, and he asked me, is he autistic? And I told him, yeah, we're in the process of diagnosis at that stage. And we started chatting, and me being asking the most stupid question in my life, that was, then I looked at the doctor and said, will he ever be normal? And his face, you can see his face. I mean, he didn't have to answer that, hey, you're stupid, but his face showed me that I'm stupid. And he said, so what's normal? If you can explain to me what is normal, I can tell you. But your normal is not his normal. And for me, that was like the biggest learning in my life. And whenever I talk to different people explain that, this is normal. No, this is your normal. This is not
Mhm.
the other person's normal or the other group's normal, etc.
Wow, wow. Thank you for sharing, because I think that's a lot of people I meet, and when we have the conversation, it's obviously that they've not been exposed, unfortunately, to what neurodivergence is. It's not something that we learn in school of, how everybody is unique and different. So how can you know what you don't know? And I think that honesty is so important there, that there is no stupid question. You didn't know at that point that there is no such thing as normal. None of us are really at all. We're all very diverse and we're all very unique and incredible in different ways. So I really appreciate that honesty. Really, really do. How has being a father in this context changed the way that you've seen the world, or even your own values? Have they changed?
it's it changed, of course. It changed everything. It changed the way I viewed people, the way I always looked at things as right or wrong, as this is the way it should happen, or this isn't the way it should not happen. I think probably the biggest relief in my life is when we stop trying to make my son be like us, but rather understanding how he is seeing things and trying to really understand his perspective. And that's the biggest change in my life. And that's the biggest change in leadership, in work, in everything in life. When we stop trying to make people look like us or trying to shape them the way they are, and actually understanding how their brain works, how they see life. And most importantly, probably even a level higher, is when we start leveraging that view and combining it with different view. That's the power of perspectives. That's when people say diversity, some people use it as a term and they don't really understand. If we are able to tap into different perspectives and combine them together, that is the power of diversity. That's the power that we can generate. When a team all speaks the same language, that doesn't generate value. When the team brings different languages and the person that is leading that team is able to leverage these views, this is the power of diversity.
It's so true, and you actually elicited some emotion from me there, because that hearing and seeing the world through his eyes, not through what we want or what we think he needs, because nobody knows better than themselves what they need. And I think that message is just so powerful and strong. We try to create people, our children, we try to put them in a direction that we think's right from that for them. And our motives are usually good, but we don't stop and pause and think, well, what do you really need and want? What's important here? And I know that would be a challenge with a nonverbal child, but you've obviously gone to great lengths to understand what he needs. But I really appreciate that. And I think it's such a strong and powerful message that everybody needs that. And he is so fortunate to have someone to be able to advocate that for him.
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the things also that I believe as humans, our ultimate goal is to be happy. And this is what we all work to generate something to give us that happiness feeling. So for me, I whenever, for example, me and his mother were debating, are we providing the best thing for him? Are we doing the right thing? I asked the question, is he happy? If he's happy, everything else doesn't matter. If he doesn't go to university or doesn't do the normal life of any child or any, let's say, standard human at this stage, but he's happy, everything else doesn't matter. That's the ultimate goal. And if I can get him to that place and provide a good life and a happy life for him, then everything's okay.
Incredible. And I'm sure he's so happy now, because that's what you're giving him. It's the greatest gift, isn't it? Isn't that the point of life? It's to not chase
Great,
around,
right.
but be in the moment and happy. Thank you. Thank you. Honestly, such an amazing job you're doing as a father, honestly. Do you think you would have seen that if let's say he didn't have the diagnosis? Do you think
No,
that you think it
no,
took
no.
yeah.
It's on one hand, I know it's not an easy life for him, and it's never gonna be an easy life. And what he goes through when he wants to explain something to us, an emotion or a need or anything, is very hard.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the gift that he gave me in trying to understand different people, I don't think anyone can. I mean, I sometimes advise people and coach and give them books and tell them to listen to a podcast or whatever, but it's different. It is different than when you have it in your own life. It's different when you have no choice but to live with it and learn it. It's no, yeah, I don't think anyone can experience that level of understanding the different perspectives if they don't have a neurodivergent person in their life.
Yes, yes. I think that's such a valuable point. And it probably leads me to where I probably would have gone later on is, the workplace environment. Would that be something that you would want him to have an opportunity at some point in his life to enter the working world?
Oh, that's a big topic that I believe all companies are behind,
Yes.
and behind in every aspect. The
Mm-hmm.
way we post job descriptions and the way we go and screen and then interview, all of these basically they weed out the neurodivergent applicants.
Yeah.
It is by design. It takes out any person that is not within the not 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 going to throw numbers, but let's say 80-90% of what society is defines as normal. So definitely all companies are way behind. There are some companies that are better than others in their programs when they hire certain individuals for quality control, for example, and they target neurodivergent groups or autistic children or autistic people. But I think the whole business world is way behind, and there's a lot that needs to happen there.
Yes, really. There. I don't think there's anywhere that's there yet, and I completely understand that these things take time. It can't change overnight. First, people, need to learn to understand and want to understand, and once we get there, the education, then we can start making changes, and I know that takes time, but the sooner we start, the better hope we have for our children who enter the workforce in the future, and the world they go into. That's definitely my drive, is that children today go into a world that is much more accepting and understanding of their individuality. What do you think, in an ideal world, if you had magic powers just to completely design a business, what would that look like? And what would inclusivity look like there for you?
It's
It's not an easy answer because there's so many nuances, but let's just say in somewhat a generic way.
I think it all starts with the culture, and if if
Yeah.
if I want to build a business, it starts with what is the foundation and what is the culture of that business, and everything else falls. I mean, the saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture is everything. So if I had a blank sheet of paper to say, I want to build a business that is inclusive, starts with the culture. And the culture is having different perspectives, understanding different perspectives, leveraging different perspectives. It's like there's a difference of knowing that I have teams that have different perspectives, but the ultimate goal is using these perspectives for our benefit. So it all starts with a culture, building a culture that is inclusive, and not just for the words, and not just, hey, I add a race from here or something from there, and just to make it look like it's inclusive. Inclusiveness is starts with culture, starts with acceptance, starts with understanding, and then goes all the way continuation. It's just the start. We have to have a a recurring theme. For example, I can give you an example. In our company, we start every meeting with a safety moment. Some people from time to time like, oh, are we wasting 5 minutes on the safety moment? And we repeat that if we don't do that, people will not understand that this is critical part of our culture. No matter what happens, we will start with a safety moment. You will listen to 5 minutes, and one day you will have something that you will remember, and it will might save your life, and you might say, well, I didn't waste that safety moment. So it is creating a culture and repeating it day in, day out, without saying that, oh no, it's over right now, there's no need to talk about diversity, it's changes of the past, or we don't need to talk about safety, etc.
Wow. So what would that moment look like? Them 5 minutes.
So
Would that be? Sorry, go ahead.
I'll give you an example, because I from time to time, I see the team members when we're talking about safety moment, like disconnected. Okay, I'll do the email when we're doing the safety moment. I'll multitask. And I last safety moment, I put a picture of an X-ray of my lower back that shows a titanium cage, two titanium rods, and four screws. And I told them, look carefully at this. This and another two surgeries I had, 150 sessions of physiotherapy that I had. All of it is because I was texting and going down the stairs and I slipped. And that's your safety moment. Take care. When you're going down the stairs, use the handrail. This is not for decoration. And one day, if you slip and you have your hand on the rail and nothing happens, you remember that this was a safety moment that might have stopped all the repercussions. So this is one example of safety moment, and we have the diversity and inclusion moments. Obviously, we keep doing every single meeting.
With it, incredible. So I guess, would you say that there's a lot of psychological safety there, that employees feel safe to turn to managers? And
That's definitely another type of safety moments that we also do. And it's not just that. Something I'm proud of is we measure it every year twice, and we ask questions about, hey, are you comfortable challenging the status quo? Are you comfortable doing this? Are you comfortable? All of these psychological safety questions, these are not something we just talk about. We actually measure, and every leader has a score to understand how are they doing, and is do their team feel comfortable challenging them, yes or no? And then we have to go not just after that measurement. After that measurement, every leader has to present their plan. Okay, how can I do better as a leader? And then share that plan with the team and follow up on the plan. Say, hey, you told me that I'm not giving you enough feedback and I'm not giving you space. Tell me, what do I need to do so that we can work better together?
that's so important. I guess it gives people opportunity to share their communication needs. Sometimes people prefer verbal communication, others it's written down instructions and it needs to be briefed. So it's incredible that you do that, and that it's not just a measured. It's just not just measured. There's actually an action plan that goes along with that, and it creates accountability. So important. Let's say, for example, when your son is of age to go to the working world, I'm not sure, does he have augmentative communication? Or
Yes,
yeah.
we do have the app to help him with communication. And I think this year his vocabulary is up to 5 words, which is very positive. This is like after 11 years of work, we got to a place. Unfortunately, his preferred word is no, so we're working on that. But yes.
My daughters too. Unless it's chocolate. Um, um, so he would have and I think it's important for companies to understand this. Just because someone's nonverbal doesn't mean that they can't communicate. It doesn't mean that they can't have ideas. How would you say that he best communicates?
Listen, there's what we have right now in terms of technology,
Mhm.
and there's what we will have in the future.
Yeah.
I think right now we don't have enough technology and enough systems and technology to help non-verbal autistic people integrate in work. It's a given. But I've been in technology for the last 30 years, and I like, this is something, it's not just work for me, it's passion. I think we are at the stage where technology is gonna be explosive when it comes to helping neurodivergent people at work. I think between AI and different technologies, and in the next few years, we're going to see a lot of tools and systems that will help more integrate more people in the workspace. So I'm I'm pretty hopeful. I think this AI boom is should be very helpful for autistic children.
Yeah. To give a voice that maybe they didn't
Yes.
necessarily have. What is his love? What's his passion? Is there anything that his special interest, I guess?
he likes to ride the bike a lot, even though it's if you watch him sometimes like is he gonna fall or he's gonna, but he likes to exercise. So anything that is physical, swimming, bikes, rollers, he just goes into his zone and he enjoys it. That so now we're at the phase we're trying to understand what's his passion. I think cooking is not one of them. Doing chores at home is not one of them. Painting from time to time, he likes to paint, but physical exercise is an area that he he can get out the energy that he needs to get out and enjoy it at the same time.
Incredible. Have you heard of Heroes of Hope?
No.
It's I'll share the details afterwards, but yeah, they help individuals participate in Special Olympics, and it's an incredible organization. So I'll share it with you later. If he loves his physical activity, he might enjoy that. What is schooling like for him?
It's therapy. I don't want to call it therapy. It is a program that we create for him at home. So it is a combination of ABA and occupational therapy and physical exercises and speech therapy. So it's a it's a 6 to 8 hours different sessions at different times at home. Since schools is not something that is doable for him, it's mostly a program custom designed for him.
It's a reoccurring theme I hear from parents, is that there's just not enough in schools at the moment to create inclusivity. Um,
It is for a certain level. I mean, when they're verbal and they can communicate, etc., school can accommodate, and I know several schools that can, but there's a certain level that they cannot go beyond. It's like the non-verbal. It's not easy for them to accommodate, and it's not easy. And I understand their perspectives because they need to build programs special for that, and it's not something that the mainstream school can do.
Maybe their inclusion departments could, though.
They could do better, definitely. They could do
I
better,
well,
definitely.
yeah, I do, and I know there are some incredible ones here. There absolutely
Yeah,
are.
but we live in Dubai, and it's a, it's a, it's a bit of a industry that requires some more focus on people rather than money. So
And that's full cycle. That's from right through schooling right to the workplace. And I think obviously the neurodivergent community, they miss out on opportunities for something that's seen as a disability, and it's not always a disability, because we all have our unique talents and strengths, and your son will have his too. um, and I think it's about understanding that each individual can add to any organization, depends on what their natural ability, natural capabilities are. And as long as we allow that and allow them to thrive, then they can be a huge bonus to an organization. It's just about, again, back to that education, that culture, and creating them spaces. So it's so important. And I think if we start getting it right in schools, right from kindergarten right up, then you really are opening a lot more doors for everyone.
true.
So let's hope we can we can make that change for the future. Would you ideally like him to go to school?
Of course. I mean, that's a given for me. It wasn't a choice. We were not given a choice. We couldn't because there was no place that can accommodate him in his needs. Now, in the early stages where there were, I think up till 6 or 7 years old, we had a shadow teacher with him and he went to school and everything was okay. But when the learning started and the verbal communication was essential, this is where it wasn't possible anymore and it just didn't work out. So we started and there were a lot of accommodations and there was lots of good stuff, but it just eventually there was a place where the school couldn't, no school couldn't, and we just had to uh, create our own program.
He's so fortunate to have that, because I know it's not always easy to access them programs here. It depends on. what people's financial situation is. So, it is unfortunate that in some cases it's not possible for everyone. He's just so fortunate to have you to be able to give him that.
Yeah, and I've had few people that approached me to ask me about the program and what they're doing. And knowing their financial status, I advise them not to stay. I advise them to go back to their own country because they cannot afford having a custom program here. It's not just not cheap. That's the reality.
It's difficult for you as a father, as a leader. How do because I know leadership can be quite a lonely place, and you want the best for your children going into the world. So it's huge responsibilities both sides. How do you take care of yourself and all of that?
It's a good question. I think for me personally, I always have the different disciplines in the physical disciplines where I exercise every day. The mental discipline is when I do meditation, and that's for me like I think maybe the last 10 years one of the best discoveries. If anyone has not discovered meditation, it's one of the perfect tools, and it's also remembering what's important in life. And if if as a person we're stuck into the details and we go into loops in details, probably the simplest thing, and I learned that from my elder brother. He asked me, is that an important thing or a detail? And once you start categorizing, is it critical or is it, if it's a detail, it's not important, move on. So it's identifying what's big and what's important in our life, and what are the things that we can just let go.
So do you meditate every day?
I would say, depending on the situations, when I'm having tough times, yes, I meditate every day. When I'm having an easy time, I probably slow down on meditation. So it's like my pill or my therapy. Whenever I feel anxious or I feel I need to do something, I just have my meditation ready. But then when things are so good, I become a bit lazy.
Well, it's not. I mean, I think that's understandable. A lot of us like, oh, we're okay now. Often when I work with people, that tends to be, we might end our sessions, and we're always there for a check in if anyone needs it. And when they do the check, so it could be 3 6 months, a year, that someone will always pop back. And it's because life was going good, so I didn't practice the things that were helping me to create the good life. So I've gone back to that old pattern, old cycle, and I can be guilty too. It's interesting that you said that you'll go to the meditation when you're in that moment. I almost am too heightened that it's when I'm back calm. I'm like, I need to get
Yeah.
back into my meditation. But meditation for me has to be guided, or I do you meditate using
No,
guided?
I use both, but guided is also my preferred.
Yeah, it's for my focus. Otherwise, the mind keeps going. So that's really powerful. And when did you find meditation?
This is one of the things that honestly is a great benefit of working for a company like GE. And that I learned it actually when I joined GE, maybe nearly 9 years ago, where we had different programs. Like, okay, let me check these programs. Why do they have these programs for the employees? And I started reading about them, and here I am after 9 years doing meditation. So it is a credit for the company, and it is a credit for the programs that the company has built for the employees.
Well, that just highlights that it's well-being isn't a tick the box exercise, much like inclusion. You're a great example of someone implementing the things that have been put in place within the company and why it's so important. Probably why you're still there 9 years,
Of course,
because because you're valued as a person, you're valued in the company, you're seen as a person. Um, so that's the fact that you found it there, because I didn't expect that would have been where you found it. Says a lot about where you work.
indeed, I always also say that time is the only limitation we have in our life. Everything is unlimited except for time. So when we take time, when a company takes time and say, hey, I'll give you an example. Right now we have summers. In the summer, all employees, we send a notification that on a Friday afternoon, do not schedule calls. This is the free time. And this is the time where you just take a break and do whatever you want, what makes you comfortable. If it's work, work. If it's not work, just take a break. We even have, let's say, 2 days in the summer that these are just days off that we decide to give it globally, not related to any event or anything, just a recharge day. Take the day off and recharge. There's no need to be part. So there's a lot of things that are related to time that I think we do a good job as a company, and I benefit from it, and I'm sure most of the employees do.
Do you take that time?
Of course.
Good, good.
And I block my calendar whenever there's because I work in a role that sometimes requires different time zones, and I know that I cannot escape different time zones at all the times, but there are certain days, for example, on a Friday, I block my calendar in the evening as out of the office. Like, no one can call me. I don't have meetings, and it's just the time that people need to respect my time out. And I do that with all my team members. And I've had different jokes with team members where they were answering me on a Sunday when I was working on a Sunday because I was clearing up emails, and then I had to now write in my email that I have a footnote in my email that I'm sending my email based on my time zone and based on my need. I'm not expecting you to reply to me except on your time zone and your availability. So it's always important to remind people that you're not supposed to do stuff that is outside your time zone or outside your work time, etc., and make them feel comfortable to take time and relax on themselves.
You really respect others' time.
Because it's important.
Recommend that. Yeah. That's not always seen, though. It's you should be available when I need you to be available. But I think that's huge awareness on your part to have that respect. I mean, we can respect our own time and say, "Oh, I'm not doing that now," or "I'm not," or sometimes we might be too hard on ourselves. But to respect others and to consider, I'm sending this email now, I do not expect a response, is really, shows the measure of you. That's so important.
Yeah, and I mean, and communication is also important in the sense that whenever I have a new team, I explain to them the different, uh, let's say, different criticality of the communication. If it's an email, I don't expect a reply instantly. If I need an instant reply, I might text you, send you a text on your mobile, or send you a Teams message, and I explain what am I expecting from this. So it's also good to let the team know that, hey, an email, 24 hours, 48 hours, it's fine, you don't reply. If I have anything urgent, trust me, I will text you on your mobile so you know it's urgent.
Well, that's very important. You know where you stand,
Yeah.
and that you take that time to sit with them. With that, it's so valuable. Amazing. What's the one thing you wish everybody would understand about having a neurodivergent family?
What's the one thing I need to think about it? I think the one thing I keep repeating for everyone is the best feeling in life is when you understand that there is no right or wrong, and there are different perspectives. This is the best. It is seriously. I keep repeating for several employees sometimes that they come to me and say, this person is right, I'm wrong. Like, I told them, you will get to a place in your life where you feel so happy if you understand that every person is different. The saying in Dubai, it's came from Asia, that we say it's same but different. I joke about it, say we're all same but different.
Yes.
Once you get to that level of understanding, your life will be way easier.
Yes, particularly in relationships.
Yes, exactly.
And that's when I'm working with people. It's a very important element. Like, the way we see the world is not the way any other person on this planet sees it. I look at a tree, I might see the wind blowing the leaves. You look at a tree, you might see the bird sitting in the nest. We all see it different, and there's your perspective, my perspective, and then what's actually real. Um, and that's based on our whole life, the neural pathways that we've built, the way we see the world. So yeah, perspective is so important, but understanding that each individual has a different one doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's different. Doesn't mean we're right. It just means we're different. And yeah, for anyone in a relationship, business wise or personally wise, once you navigate that, then the rest is easy.
Yes, exactly. The rest is details.
What?
The rest is details.
Yes, yes, yes. Do you have any neurodivergent team members that you're aware of?
I diagnosed, no. Undiagnosed, I believe I do.
Have they self-diagnosed, or you just are aware because of?
No, we talk a lot about this, and I have friends that I mean, even when it comes to ADHD, I know a lot of people that are they were diagnosed after 40 in ADHD, etc. But but we talk about the different traits and how they exhibit certain traits, and they say, yeah, I think I think I'm there, but it of course it's mild, and yes, so the short answer to your question, I do have a lot of people around me, and I do try to educate them, and for them also to read and get educated about how do they see things and how can they deal with things better.
Really good, really, really supportive. Do you ever notice that any of them individuals become overwhelmed in the workplace, or that they struggle in any way?
Of course, it's the and again going back to our systems and our. I talked about the hiring, I talked about the job description, but then at work, all of the things we do basically do not help neurodivergent. When we say, well, you need to have presence, you need to stand on stage and talk about stuff that you might not know, and or I put you in a meeting room and people are questioning you in different questions and areas that are uncomfortable for you. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Well, for me, it's okay to be uncomfortable. But if you put an autistic child in an uncomfortable situation, you might shut them down completely. So it is it is also the systems that need to be improved to accommodate neurodivergent people.
Yeah, right to the onboarding process, the policies of the company, as you said, the culture, and then what's within the company. You know, if I need to decompress or I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, where do I go? What do I do? What is there for me? Um, when you say that about, someone, even if I know a topic, let's say for me personally, and if I was in a boardroom and people started firing questions at me, I go into shutdown.
Yeah,
The information's there, but it doesn't come because it's an overwhelming moment for me.
exactly.
So the fact that I know it doesn't support me. It's like sitting in a classroom and the teacher comes with a question and everyone starts, you just the palms start sweating. So it's just a really, really uncomfortable situation for me. So, I often ask myself, why do I put myself in them situations sometimes? And right now I've got to, because unless I speak, people aren't gonna hear my message, and the flaws of my speech are probably important because it can't well, there's no such thing as perfect. People hear me harping on about that, but it's important to highlight that just because it's not perfect doesn't mean that it's not there, it's not true. I'm not even sure that makes sense.
No, 100%. I was attending a session on autism, I think maybe like 4 years ago. It's a session they do, the United Nations, they do it every year. And there was a topic around the benefits of COVID for autistic children. And
Yes.
it was something that, like, now people can work from home. This is something that is more common. People accept it. And this is a comfortable environment. People can have their notes in front of them and not be put in a place where, in a meeting room where they're bombarded with questions and that's
Mhm.
outside their comfort zone. So no, they are at home, they are inside their comfort zone, they have everything around them. So I think there are the one of the few benefits of COVID was the work from home, the accommodation. It helped autistic people. And I go back to what I said earlier. I believe technology is going to get us to a place where it's even going to be groundbreaking in the next few years, hopefully, for autistic children.
Yeah, I really, really do hope so. And I think it's the advantage of the world of AI at the moment. And just as you're saying there, about sitting in the corporate room and having that meeting, also for that, it's okay, perhaps that you're uncomfortable in the situation and the social situation, but then it's the bright lights, the acoustics of the room, maybe the smell, maybe it's a little bit too hot or a little bit too cold. And for each individual is different on where their senses are heightened. But when you have your senses working on double, triple speed, you've all that to navigate at the same time. So it's like you're juggling and you're trying to answer questions. So yeah, it's so the working from home, it's not always possible, but for that to be flexible is definitely beneficial. And I also think then within work environments, creating them spaces that people can go to, can just step away, creating that safety that it's okay to do that, whether it's putting something on your desk, back in 5 minutes sort of sign, but just that the rest of the world can say, oh, let's say Moira's, she's finding it hard today. There's a lot going on for her. So we'll see if she needs support or if she needs us to take a step back or whatever that is that we put in place. And that's, I think that's for humans. And that is something if we look at any neurotype, we've got to see the person and their overall well-being.
I'll give you an example of one of the things our team did amazing. Maybe a couple of months ago, we had a user conference in Houston, and conferences sometimes are overwhelming. Like people talking it's just so they created a meeting room called meditation room, where you just go in and unwind and just not don't talk to anyone, meditate, just sit, relax. And people started going, and it's like, okay, I'm tired of talking to too many people in this conference. I need to rest for 10-15 minutes, wind down, and then I come back. And that was very much one of the best things that the team has done.
That's it. That's really, really, really important. Is there anywhere within your company right now that there is places for someone to go, or maybe something you might create after?
No, yes, we actually have. I mean, anyone can book a room, and we had few offices. We kind of tried different models. We had few offices where we labeled a room a meditation room. Some of them did works, ended up meeting room. But I think at this stage, everyone knows that anyone can go to any small meeting room. They can lock it, and they can just unwind for an hour or two or whatever time is needed, and then come back with their day. Plus, at the end of the day, the flexibility of that working from home when you need, taking the time, that made a big difference. And I think we as a company, we've taken a decision that we're never going to go back to full. We're always going to be hybrid, and this is something that it's working for the teams. It's helping everyone. It's a good culture. We're going to keep doing that.
Well, that's great to hear. Are there any next steps as a company that you think would be a direction you would go to create a more inclusive environment?
Yeah, of course, the creation of the program from the job description to the screening is we started working on it maybe a year and a half back, and I think there were other priorities that unfortunately that's the typical corporate life. It takes precedence, but that's an area which I personally am going to be pushing for, and I know few people in the company that have family members that will be pushing with me. So that's an area where the hiring and screening and the job description, and then later on accommodations at work is definitely a target for us.
Well, when you're at that point, I can come in and help.
Of course.
Whenever you guys are ready at that point, because it's so important, and it's great to hear that that's still in the forefront of your mind, that world is being created. I might jump across to hear a little bit about your ex-wife's comic book.
It is an interesting one, and she in her mind, you think of her, she's a writer and a producer, so everything for her is stories, and she likes to explain herself or her life in stories, and this is what she basically had the comic book around my son and his adventures. So she released the first version, I think it was June last year, and I think the second one is going to be this any day now. So she's working on it. So it's a series of adventures for my son Jad, and what he does in his life when he decides to go around the city, explore, do paragliding. An autistic child and his adventures.
Incredible. Is that the name?
It's no, it's the name. No, the name. I'll send you the link
Well, I
later.
was if you when or if you can share the link, and what
Yeah,
we'll do is we'll put it in the podcast description.
no,
So
yeah,
I'm sure many
yeah.
viewers would love to have it.
No, it's based on my son's name. It's Jad's Adventures.
And I'm going to get a copy too. I love a comic book. So incredible. Does she do the illustrations herself?
No, she helps. She has a friend that does the illustrations.
Wow. That's it's really putting her creativity to
Yeah,
work there. How do you navigate time there where you are separated? I know you have a good relationship. Do you find it challenging, or it works well for you both?
it's it was. Let's say the challenging is my job mostly because I work in different time zones and I travel a lot. So it's always a challenge when it comes to job. But other than that, no, I think we have a good system. We have a good now. Probably also the biggest challenge is when you're living in two houses or two places. Uh, my son cannot go back and forth because he needs his comfort zone. So I will be the person that always going to his place and joining him and staying and spending time with him. It's changing a habits for an autistic child is something that doesn't go well. So that's probably the biggest challenge is he cannot be moving from different places. I need to be with him most of the time when I can.
So that time for yourself, that self
Yes,
care isn't there's not much room for it at the moment.
I can always manage.
Good, good. I do hope so. I do hope so. Is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you think would be really important for our listeners to hear, or anything that you would like to mention?
No, no, I don't think there's anything. I think just like again, one of the best gifts is the power of perspectives, and I've said it 10 times, and I keep repeating it, and I keep repeating to anyone I coach and mentor that it's the best gift you can get in life once you start understanding that people's brains are different, and if you can leverage that difference, the power is unlimited.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Such a valuable voice, and obviously the initial part of our discussion, just listening to the person, whatever way that is, but letting them be them. I think that's one of the biggest messages that the world can hear, because it is so important. I think it makes such a difference to everyone's overall health, mental health, if they can be allowed to be the person that they are, and not the person society wants them to be.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Thank you.